Right now, an advanced regenerative stem cell protocol, something that you might not even be able to access in the US or Canada, is actually being performed routinely in a high-tech clinic in Mexico.
Yeah, and it's happening every day.
Exactly. And it's likely being offered for, well, a fraction of what you would pay out of pocket back home. But before you just pull out your credit card and book a flight to Monterey or Istanbul or Tokyo, you really need to pause.
Right.
Because stepping into the whole global marketplace of medical travel, I mean, it's intoxicating. The hope is real. The science is moving incredibly fast. But if you don't have a map, it is remarkably easy to end up completely overwhelmed.
Oh, totally. It's a frontier.
Yeah.
And like any frontier, it requires a very specific kind of compass. We are looking at millions of patients who are, deciding to look beyond their own borders for healing.
Yeah.
And they are encountering a totally different medical landscape than what they're used to.
And that compass, that's exactly what we are handing you today. So welcome to the deep dive. We are looking at two really highly specific sources today to help anyone who's exploring regenerative medicine abroad.
Right.
We have excerpts from a patient-focused guide on navigating stem cell therapy internationally, and also this massive comprehensive breakdown from PlacidWay. And that details, global destinations, risks, and cost structures.
And I think we should establish our baseline right now.
Please do.
Our goal today is not to scare anyone away from international medical options. There's no fear-mongering here.
No, not at all.
The mission is to build confidence. We want to equip you with the smart, empowering questions you need to ask a clinic so that, you feel entirely prepared and educated before making what is really a major healthcare investment.
Right. So let's just start with the most obvious question. Why leave home at all?
Oh, good question.
I mean, if I have a chronic joint issue or an autoimmune condition, why am I getting on a plane? Okay, let's unpack this. Because going abroad for this isn't just about hunting for a discount vacation.
No, definitely not.
Based on the sources, it's more like seeking out a highly specialized masterclass in a very specific medical field, rather than just settling for whatever general biology elective happens to be offered at your local community college.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
The primary drivers here are access and specialized expertise.
Okay.
Take the U.S., for example. The FDA classifies most non-hematological stem cell treatments, specifically those using mesenchymal stem cells or MSCs, as experimental.
Right.
And that classification puts a hard ceiling on what doctors can legally offer, how they can culture the cells, and what conditions they can even target. It restricts access.
So it's a regulatory bottleneck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you look internationally, different regulatory environments have actually allowed clinics to develop expanded MSC protocols and achieve this incredibly high-volume expertise.
Well, what's fascinating here is how the map, let's look at the map PlacidWay provides. Because the destination actually dictates the specific medical approach, right?
Yes. What's fascinating here is exactly that. It's how differing national regulations literally shape the global map of medical innovation.
Right, like Mexico is highlighted as a massive hub for treating autoimmune and neurological conditions.
Right. Multiple sclerosis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, exactly. And they rely heavily on umbilical cord MSCs. But what stands out in the source isn't just the treatment itself, it's the government oversight.
Yeah.
They have this agency called COFEPRIS enforcing strict regulations, which guarantees that the clinics are using cells with 97 to 99% viability.
And that viability metric, that is crucial.
That sounds important.
It means the cells are alive, robust, and they're capable of actually signaling your body to heal. You aren't just getting a saline drip of dead cellular material.
Right.
And because Mexico has been doing this at scale under those COFEPRIS regulations, they have built specialized clinical infrastructure specifically for these complex systemic diseases.
Oh, wow. Okay, then the map shifts over to Turkey, geographically sitting right at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. And their medical focus is distinct.
Very distinct.
Turkey's masterclass, so to speak, is heavily focused on orthopedic injuries, sports medicine, and cosmetic stem cell applications. And their pricing is highly competitive.
Yeah, but then you see a totally different approach if you travel further east to South Korea.
Oh, right.
South Korea has built a global reputation for high-end orthopedic and anti-aging treatments. But their mechanism, the how, is what sets them apart. They are famous for cutting-edge autologous treatments.
Autologous.
Meaning they extract your own body's cells, but then they use proprietary, highly advanced lab techniques to expand those cells, into massive quantities before reintroducing them.
Wait. If the cells in Mexico are so highly regulated and South Korea has this amazing expansion technology, why does the PlacidWay data show patients paying top-tier premium prices to go to Japan?
Ah.
Like, what makes Japan the absolute most expensive destination on this whole list?
It comes down to how their national government decided to treat medical innovation.
Hmm.
Japan implemented something called the Act on the Safety of Regenerative Medicine.
Okay, what does that do?
Well, most countries require decades of clinical trials before a treatment can be commercialized. Japan created a unique fast-track regulatory system.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if a regenerative treatment is proven safe and shows early efficacy, it can reach commercial application much, much sooner.
So they essentially accelerated the timeline, like from the research labs straight to the clinic.
Yes, it ensures rigorous scientific backing and safety, but allows patients to access tomorrow's medicine today.
Wow.
But the trade-off is the cost. Because you are accessing the absolute bleeding edge of fast-tracked, highly monitored medical science, you pay a severe premium.
Okay, so the map makes sense. But here's where it gets really interesting. If I'm sitting across from a doctor in Tokyo or Mexico City, and they start throwing around phrases like intrathecal allogeneic cells or autologous expansion,
Yeah, it's a lot.
my eyes are probably going to glaze over. I'm likely just going to nod and hand over my credit card because, well, they're the doctor and I'm not. Shouldn't I just trust that they are the experts? Why do I need them to explain it to me simply? Is that a mistake?
It is the biggest mistake you can make in medical tourism.
Really?
Absolutely. You cannot surrender your understanding just because the vocabulary is dense.
Right.
A responsible clinic actually wants you to understand the foundational science.
Right.
If they hide behind medical jargon, they're basically asking for blind faith. And when you are paying out of pocket for your health in a foreign country, blind faith is dangerous. Explaining testing, handling, and quality control without confusing or pressuring the patient, I mean, that is a massive green flag. It proves transparency.
That makes total sense. So let's translate the jargon right now.
Let's do it.
The sources keep hammering on two main categories of cells, autologous and allogeneic.
All right, let's strip away the Latin. Think of repairing your body like adding an extension to your house.
Okay.
Autologous cells are harvested from your own body, usually from your fat tissue or bone marrow.
Got it.
It is like carefully pulling bricks and wood from your existing structure to build the new room. It works. It's your own material. Your body won't reject it.
Right, because it's yours.
Exactly. But it requires a surgical procedure to harvest and, well, the materials are as old as you are.
Ah, and allogeneic.
Allogeneic cells come from a donor. In these international clinics, that almost always means mesenchymal stem cells derived from ethically sourced, heavily screened umbilical cord tissue.
Okay.
This is like having brand new, premium, factory-fresh lumber delivered straight to the build site.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, you don't have to undergo a painful harvest procedure, and the cells are at day zero of their life. They are robust, young, and incredibly potent at reducing inflammation.
That makes perfect sense. But the patient guide also highlights something called exosomes, and it explicitly says these aren't even cells, they are vesicles.
Yes.
Again, if a doctor tells me he's injecting vesicles into my knee, I'm going to need a better explanation. What is that?
So, if the stem cell is the factory that produces healing proteins, exosomes are the little envelopes of instructions the factory sends out into your bloodstream.
Envelopes of instructor.
Right. There are tiny cell-free packages filled with regenerative signals. You don't always need to transplant the whole factory into a joint. Sometimes you just need to inject millions of those instruction envelopes to tell your body's existing local cells to turn off inflammation and start repairing tissue.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the what is either your own recycled cells, fresh donor cells, or these signaling envelopes.
Right.
But the how matters just as much. How do they actually get this material into my body?
Well, the delivery method is entirely dictated by your diagnosis.
Okay.
If you have a systemic issue like chronic fatigue or a full-body autoimmune flare-up, they will likely use an intravenous or IV infusion. The cells circulate throughout your entire vascular system.
Like a slow drip over a few hours.
Exactly. But if you have localized damage, say a torn meniscus or severe osteoarthritis in a knee, floating cells through your whole body is just inefficient.
Right.
So they use intra-articular injections, going with a needle directly into that specific joint space.
Okay. And for the neurological stuff?
For neurological disorders, conditions affecting the brain or spinal cord, they use intrathecal injections. This means injecting the cells directly into the spinal canal so they can bypass the blood-brain barrier.
Which sounds incredibly delicate.
It is.
And that brings us to the most critical pivot. Once you understand the specific cells and the science, the next logical move is evaluating the people holding the needle.
Yes.
How do I vet a clinic's safety and expertise without feeling like I'm aggressively interrogating my doctor?
You have to reframe the conversation in your own mind. Asking safety questions is not aggressive. It is the baseline of medical professionalism.
Sure.
Don't simply ask how many years the clinic has been open. I mean, clinic could be running for 15 years doing cosmetic stem cell facials.
Right.
That history is completely irrelevant if you are showing up for early-stage multiple sclerosis. You must ask, what is your specific experience with my exact condition?
It's like hiring an architect to build your house. You wouldn't hand over your life savings for a generic blueprint they just pulled out of a drawer. You'd demand they survey your specific plot of land first to see if it can even support the foundation.
That is a perfect way to put it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that is why the pre-treatment evaluation is a non-negotiable red line.
Yeah.
A reputable, high-quality clinic will demand your recent MRI results, your blood panels, and your comprehensive medical history before they ever discuss a payment schedule. They need to know if you fit their exclusion criteria.
The sources are extremely clear about this. There are conditions where you absolutely should not receive stem cell therapy.
Right.
Active cancer is a major one. Stem cells promote cellular growth and blood vessel formation. If you have an active tumor, the last thing you want to do is introduce growth-promoting signals into your body.
Exactly. Severe active infections or advanced heart failure are also standard exclusions.
Okay.
If a clinic is willing to take your deposit and schedule a flight without thoroughly reviewing your medical files to rule those exclusions out, you walk away immediately.
Red flag.
Huge red flag. It shows that they're running a volume business, not a medical practice. You also need to calmly ask the standard operational questions.
Like what?
Like, who is the doctor performing the procedure and what are their specific credentials? Can you walk me through the sterile protocols in your lab? If I have an adverse allergic reaction during the IV drip, what are your emergency medical protocols?
Okay, so you've done the vetting. You understand the science, you trust the medical team, and they've cleared your medical history. Now we hit the practical reality of medical travel.
The money.
The money. Because the ranges in the PlacidWay breakdown are staggering.
They really are.
Orthopedic joint injections might range from $7,000 to $25,000. Systemic autoimmune therapy starts around $15,000 in Turkey or Mexico, but can soar well past $75,000 for advanced neurological protocols in Japan.
Those numbers represent a massive spectrum. And the biggest trap for a patient is assuming those broad estimates cover the entire journey.
Oh.
Before you send a wire transfer, you must request a complete, itemized, written treatment plan.
What usually hides in the fine print?
Everything outside the actual needle injection.
Really?
Yeah. Does that $15,000 quote include the initial doctor consultation? Does it cover the mandatory blood work and imaging required once you arrive?
What about the post-procedure medications?
Ah, I see.
Are they arranging your hotel stay and the transportation from the airport to the clinic, or are you navigating a foreign city on your own? Look, if I'm staring at a spreadsheet and I can get my knee injected in Turkey for $5,500, or I could pay $25,000 for a joint injection in Japan,
Yeah.
my brain immediately says, book the flight to Istanbul. On paper, a stem cell injection is a stem cell injection. Shouldn't my goal be to just find the absolute cheapest option?
That instinct makes sense for buying a television. But it is dangerous for regenerative medicine. You're almost never comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
Chasing the absolute lowest price often means compromising on the unseen variables. The goal isn't the cheapest option. The goal is understanding the value of what you are buying.
Explain the unseen variables, like what makes one injection $5,000 and another $20,000?
Well, the primary driver is cell count.
Cell count.
Yeah, a treatment protocol utilizing 50 million cells requires significantly less lab processing time, incubator space, and scientific resources than a protocol calling for 300 million cells.
Oh, that makes sense.
You're also paying for the rigorous quality control in the laboratory. How many times are they testing the cells for bacterial contamination before injection?
Right. You are paying for the premium source of the tissue, and you are paying for the level of specialized medical support you receive while in the facility.
So you have to ask, can you send me a written breakdown of the cell count and the lab processing before I pay?
Yes.
And if they hesitate or say it's proprietary and they can't share it, that's your answer.
Exactly. And time is also a massive hidden cost. You need to understand the logistics of your physical stay.
Right, because you're traveling.
How many days must you be in the country? Does the protocol require 3 consecutive days of IV drips? Are there mandatory rest days required by the doctor before you are medically cleared to withstand the cabin pressure of a flight home?
Which brings us to the reality of the treatment itself. The flight is booked, the procedure is done, but what happens when the anesthesia wears off or the IV is removed?
Yeah.
Setting realistic expectations for recovery is absolutely crucial because the patient guide emphasizes that recovery isn't just one timeline.
No, it varies wildly based on the how we discussed earlier.
If you are receiving an IV infusion of donor umbilical cord cells, it is minimally invasive. You might feel a little fatigued or perhaps run a mild low-grade fever for 24 hours as your immune system responds to the new signals. But generally, you're mobile and active the next day.
But if you chose the autologous route, say, flying to South Korea to have your own bone marrow harvested from your hip bone.
Then you are dealing with a surgical recovery.
Ouch.
Yeah, you will have localized pain at the hardest site, bruising, and restricted activity for several days just from the extraction process alone before the cells are even reintroduced.
Beyond the immediate physical soreness, there is the long-term recovery of the actual disease or injury. We have to be incredibly clear here because the sources stress this heavily. Stem cell therapy is not a guaranteed magic bullet.
No, it's not.
It is a powerful, advanced regenerative tool.
Reputable clinics will never promise a cure. Let me say that again. If a clinic guarantees they will cure your progressive neurological disease, run away.
Run away.
Results vary heavily. They depend on the patient's age, the exact specificities of the diagnosis, metabolic health, lifestyle, and how far advanced the tissue damage was before the cells were introduced.
So what does this all mean? It means the most honest clinics are the ones that balance the immense, very real hope of this technology with grounded, realistic expectations of what the treatment simply cannot do.
Yes.
Knowing what not to expect is just as empowering as knowing what might happen.
And this raises an important question about the concept of holistic care. Stem cell therapy is rarely the only piece of the puzzle.
Right.
The cells act as a powerful catalyst to jumpstart healing, but they require a supportive physical environment to thrive. A good clinic will guide you through this long-term journey.
Meaning what I do when I get back home matters just as much as what happens in the clinic.
Precisely. If you get stem cells for a torn rotator cuff, but you refuse to do the intensive physical therapy required to rebuild the surrounding muscle, the cells can only do so much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It might require significant dietary changes to reduce systemic body inflammation, or strict vitamin and supplement regimens once you get back home.
Which leads to my favorite question from the patient guide, asking the clinic about follow-up care.
Crucial.
Medical travel should feel organized all the way through your recovery. It shouldn't feel like the clinic just forgets you exist the second your check clears and you board the plane.
You need to ask how they support you across borders. Do they schedule monthly video check-ins to track your progress?
Right.
Will they provide a comprehensive medical summary, translated into English, detailing exactly what was done so you can hand it to your local primary care doctor?
Oh, that's huge.
A quality clinic acts as a partner in your ongoing healthcare journey, not just a vendor selling a one-time procedure.
Okay, let's bring all this together. The core message of the sources we examined today is that asking detailed, probing questions does not make you a difficult or annoying patient.
Not at all.
It makes you a responsible, empowered one. The patient guide we looked at has this great rapid-fire list of questions to keep in your back pocket. Let's recap the heaviest hitters.
First, what is the realistic goal of this treatment for my specific condition? Second, can I see a full itemized breakdown of the total cost, including cell count?
Yep.
Third, who is reviewing my medical records to ensure I am a safe candidate? And fourth, what follow-up communication is provided after I return home?
The overarching theme here is choosing confidence over pressure. If a clinic is pushing you to sign a contract today for a limited time discount, that is a massive red flag.
Walk away.
Yeah. A world-class regenerative medicine clinic will give you the time to review the literature, talk with your family, consult your local doctor, and ask as many follow-up questions as you need. They will respect your need for clarity because they stand by their science.
As international borders continue to blur in the medical world, the traditional model of a doctor simply handing down instructions from on high is evolving.
Think back to that sprawling, overwhelming global marketplace we talked about at the very beginning. You aren't just wandering aimlessly through it anymore, hoping to stumble into the right pavilion.
No, you have the map.
You have the map. You know how to read the terrain. You are no longer just a passive patient lying on a table waiting for things to happen to you. When you decide to travel internationally for regenerative medicine, you are fundamentally shifting your role. You become the active, informed CEO of your own healthcare journey. The only question left to consider is, well, how will you lead that journey today?
It's a profound shift in perspective, taking total ownership of your health on a global scale.
Stay curious, stay empowered, and we will see you on the next deep dive.